reading a Wikipedia article, specifically one on beer. I'm trying to get into beer lately. I don't know, I've been having a lot of weird big life changes, and this feels right for me right now, okay? Anyways, so doesn't that sound delightful? Yeah. Just pretend that I'm searching up the Wikipedia article. I already have it pulled up. Yeah. So I have it on my laptop, but my laptop is like attached to literally everything via cords, and also it's big and bulky, and my filming setup is very tight, cramped space, so I'm gonna be looking this way nearly the entire video, so my apologies, but you should have your eyes shut anyway, so I'm gonna shut those eyes for you. Go ahead and shut them. Go ahead. Not my knuckle cracking. Go ahead and shut those eyes. Shut your pretty eyes. Go ahead and close those beautiful eyes for me. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Keep them shut. I see you peeking. Go ahead and shut those eyes. Keep them closed for me, please. Thank you. Okay, so let's learn up on some beer via Wikipedia. I've donated a total of $10 to Wikipedia. Fun fact. Okay, so beer. Beer is an alcoholic beverage produced by the brewing and fermentation of starches from cereal grain, most commonly malted barley, although wheat, maize, corn, which is corn, rice and oats are also used. The grain is mashed to convert starch in the grain to sugars, which dissolve in the water to form wort, W-O-R-T. Not like a wart, W-A-R-T, that you get on like your finger or whatever. Fermentation of the wort by yeast produces ethanol and carbonation in the beer. Beer is one of the oldest alcoholic drinks in the world, the most widely consumed, and the third most popular drink after water and tea. Should I read the Wikipedia about water someday? I think so. I think that'd be good. Should I have typing sounds on in the background while I read you this article? I think that might be neat. Okay. Fermentation of the wort by yeast produces ethanol. Oh wait, I already read that. Most modern beer is brewed with hops, which add bitterness and other flavors and act as a natural preservative and stabilizing agent. Other flavoring agents, such as gruit, herbs, or fruits, may be included or used instead of hops. In commercial brewing, natural carbonation is often replaced with forced carbonation. Beer is distributed in bottles and cans and is commonly available on draught in pubs and bars. The brewing industry is a global business consisting of several dominant multinational companies and many thousands of smaller producers, ranging from brew pubs to regional breweries. I need to take a sip, and I'm not drinking beer. I'm drinking iced coffee currently. What else is new? Anyways, the strength of modern beer is usually around 4 to 6% alcohol by volume, ABV. Some of the earliest writings mention the production and distribution of beer. The Code of Hammurabi included laws regulating it, while the hymn to Ningazi, a prayer to the Mesopotamian goddess of beer, contains a recipe for it. This makes a lot of sense, because there's like a beer called Ningazi, and it's fairly popular as far as I'm aware. Beer forms part of the culture of many nations and is associated with social traditions such as beer festivals, as well as activities like pub crawling, pub quizzes, and pub games. This is a little whisper piece lore, but I spent 7 years of my childhood in Germany, and obviously the beer culture there is pretty huge. It's pretty important to the country. They have like Oktoberfest and stuff, but I was a child, so I didn't really participate, unfortunately. So I'm kind of getting into beer now, I guess, in retrospective, just to connect it to my roots. My roots as a little German child. I do not speak German, by the way. Everybody always asks me that whenever I mention living in Germany for several years. I don't speak any German at all. Sorry about it. The etymology of beer. Okay. In early forms of English and in the Scandinavian languages, the usual word for beer was the word whose modern English form is ale. The modern word beer comes into present-day English from Old English bjor. I don't know, it's spelled B-E with a line over it, O-R. I just touched the mic, sorry. Itself from Common Germanic, it is found throughout the West Germanic and North Germanic dialects, which is Modern Dutch and German bier, Old Norse, which is bjor, which is, it says on here, B-J-O with an accent on it, R-R. The earlier etymology of the word is debated. The three main theories are that the word originates in Proto-Germanic. They're using letters I don't know. Buza, I don't know how to pronounce that. And in parentheses it says putatively from Proto-Indo-European biosam, meaning brewer's yeast or beer dregs, that it is related to the word barley, or that it was somehow borrowed from Latin bibere, to drink. Christine Fell in Leeds Studies in English published in 1975, suggests that the Old English Norse word bjor did not originally denote ale or beer, but a strong sweet drink, rather like mead or cider. Whatever the case, the meaning of bjor expanded to cover the meaning of ale. When hopped ale from Europe was imported into Britain in the late Middle Ages, it was described as beer to differentiate it from the British unhopped ale, later acquiring a broader meaning. So let's talk about the history a bit. So, the prehistory. Beer is one of the oldest prepared alcoholic drinks. The earliest archaeological evidence of fermentation of 13,000-year-old residues of a beer with the consistency of gruel used by the semi-nomadic Natufians for ritual feasting at the Rakafet cave in the Carmel Mountains near Haifa in northern Israel. Jeez, that's a lot of words I've never encountered before. There's evidence that beer was produced at Göbekli Tepe during the pre-pottery Neolithic, which is around 8,500 BC to 5,500 BC. The earliest clear chemical evidence of beer produced from barley dates to about 3,500 to 3,100 BC from the site of Göbekli Tepe in the Zagros Mountains of western Iran. Early civilizations. Beer is recorded in the written history of ancient Egypt, and archaeologists speculate that beer was instrumental in the formation of civilizations. Approximately 5,000 years ago, workers in the city of Uruk, which is modern-day Iraq, were paid by their employers with volumes of beer. I, too, would be paid in beer if the situation necessitated it. Just kidding, I don't even like beer, which is crazy. Isn't that funny? I'm learning to like it though. It's an acquired taste. Where was I? During the building of the Great Pyramids in Giza, Egypt, each worker got a daily ration of 4 to 5 liters of beer, which served as both nutrition and refreshment, and was crucial to the pyramid's construction. That's crazy. That's hilarious. I'm surprised there's not like a beer company that's like I start my beer business. Yeah. Some of the earliest Sumerian writings contain references to beer. Examples include a prayer to the goddess Ningazi, known as the hymn to Ningazi, which serves as both a prayer and a method of remembering the recipe for beer in a culture with few literate people. And the way you guys are, I did not realize I'm just serving profile this video. My bad. Doesn't matter, your eyes should be shut anyways. And part of the hymn goes, fill your belly. Part of the hymn goes, fill your belly, day and night make merry. And that's in parentheses. To Gilgamesh, recorded in the Epic of Gilgamesh by the alewife Siduri, may, at least in part, have referred to the consumption of beer. The Ebla tablets, discovered in 1974 in Ebla, Syria, show that beer was produced in the city in 2500 BC. A fermented drink using rice and fruit was made in China around 7000 BC. Unlike sake, mold was not used to saccharify the rice, which is amylytic fermentation. The rice was probably prepared for fermentation by chewing or malting. During the Vedic period in ancient India, there are records of the consumption of the beer like sura. Xenophon noted that during his travels, beer was being produced in Armenia. So beer is everywhere, basically. It's everywhere. It's been around forever. Beer ever. 1 million beers. BC stands for beer can. Okay, let's talk about the medieval era and the history of beer. I know they were turning up in the medieval era with their taverns and whatnot, and their no potable water. Yeah. Beer was spread through Europe by Germanic and Celtic tribes as far back as 3000 BC, and it was mainly brewed on a domestic scale. The product that the early Europeans drank might not be recognized as beer by most people today. Alongside the basic starch source, the early European beers may have contained fruits, honey, numerous types of plants, spices, and other substances such as narcotic herbs. Yeah, they were turning up alright. The mixture was called Gruit. Gruit. Where, if some were improperly heated, could cause hallucinations. The mixture of Gruit was different from every brewer. What they did not contain was hops, as that was a later addition, first mentioned in Europe around 822 by a Carolingian abbot, and again in 1067 by Abbess Hildegard of Bingen. In 1516, William IV, Duke of Bavaria, adopted the Reinheitsgebot, which is the purity law, perhaps the oldest food quality regulation still in use in the 21st century, according to which the only allowed ingredients of beer are water, hops, and barley malt. Beer produced before the Industrial Revolution was made and sold on a domestic scale, although by the 7th century AD, beer was also being produced and sold by European monasteries. During the Industrial Revolution, the production of beer moved from artisanal to industrial manufacture, while domestic production ceased to be significant by the end of the 19th century. And here we are in the modern era. In 1912, brown bottles began to be used by the Joseph Schlitz Brewing Company of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. In the United States, this innovation has since been accepted worldwide as it prevents light rays from degrading the quality and stability of beer. I didn't know that. I didn't know beer was affected by light. The brewing industry is a global business consisting of several dominant multinational companies and many thousands of smaller producers, ranging from brew pubs to regional breweries. As of 2006, more than 100 premium beers, compared with 50% in France and Germany. Beer is the most widely consumed of all alcoholic drinks. A widely publicized study in 2018 suggested that sudden decreases in barley production due to extreme drought and heat could in the future cause substantial volatility in the availability and price of beer. That's quite terrifying to consider. I keep bumping the microphone. Y'all, my back hurts. Okay, let's talk about the brewing process. What if I switch sides? Okay, I switched sides. I'm learning so much. What about you guys? Are you learning? Okay. The process of making beer is called brewing. It converts the grain into a sugary liquid called wort and then ferments this into beer using yeast. The first step, mixing malted barley with hot water in a mash tun, is called mashing. No way. The starches are converted to sugars and the sweet wort is drained off. The grains are washed to extract as much fermentable liquid from the grains as possible. The sweet wort is put into a kettle or copper and boiled. Hops are added as a source of bitterness, flavor, and aroma. This setup is not ideal. It's less than ideal, in fact. The longer the hops are boiled, the more bitterness they contribute, but I feel like this was written without consideration for grammar, to be honest. The more bitterness they contribute, but the less hop flavor and aroma remain. The wort is cooled and the yeast is added. The wort is then fermented, often for a week or longer. The yeast settles, leaving the beer clear. During fermentation, most of the carbon dioxide is allowed to escape through a trap. The carbonation is often increased by either transferring the beer to a pressure vessel and introducing pressurized carbon dioxide, or by transferring it before the fermentation is finished so that the carbon dioxide builds up inside the container. Let's talk about ingredients. The basic ingredients of beer are water, a starch source, usually malted barley, a brewer's yeast to produce the fermentation, and a flavoring such as hops. A mixture of starch sources may be used. A mixture of starch sources may be used, with a secondary carbohydrate source such as maize, rice, wheat, or sugar, often termed as an adjunct, especially when used alongside malted barley. Less widely used starch sources include millet, sorghum, and cassava root in Africa, potato in Brazil, and agave in Mexico. Water is the main ingredient, accounting for 93% of the beer's weight. The level of dissolved bicarbonate influences beer's finished taste. Due to the mineral properties of each region's water, specific areas were originally the sole producers of certain types of beer, each identifiable by regional characteristics. Dublin's hard water is well suited to making stout, such as Guinness, while the Plzeň, I can't say this word, Plzen, Zen. I'm still trying to say it. I give up. The Plzeň region's soft water is ideal for brewing Pilsner, such as Pilsner Urquell. The waters of Burton in England contain gypsum, which benefits making pale ale to such a degree that brewers of pale ale add gypsum in the process, known as Burtonization. The starch source provides the fermentable material and determines the strength and flavor of the beer. The most common starch source used in beer is malted grain. Grain is malted by soaking it in water, allowing it to begin germination, and then drying the partially germinated grain in a kiln. Malting procedures Malting produces enzymes that convert starches into fermentable sugars. Different roasting times and temperatures produce different colors of malt from the same grain. Darker malts produce darker beers. Nearly all beers use barley malt for the most of the starch, as its fibrous hull remains attached to the grain during threshing. After malting, barley is milled, which is finally After milling, barley is milled. After malting, barley is milled, which removes the hull, breaking it into larger pieces. These pieces remain with the grain during the mash and act as a filter bed during lautering, when sweet wort is separated from insoluble grain material. Other grains, including wheat, rice, oats, and rye, and less frequently, corn and sorghum, may be used. Some brewers have produced gluten-free beer made with sorghum for those who cannot consume gluten-containing grains like wheat, barley, and rye. And that's where I'm gonna stop for today because my back is hurting. So, yeah, that's what's going on with beer. That's what's going on with beer. Yeah, basically beer update. Have I drank beer? Kind of. Do I find it gross? Absolutely. Am I working on finding it less gross? Entirely. So, give me your beer recommendations in the comments down below. The beers I've drank, I've had Stella, that was okay. My mom used to drink Corona with a little lime in it, so I don't really like that one because it's associated